Guys, Casey here once again. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to click on this video. I hope that it's a blessing to you, maybe to help you during this time. I've tried my best to avoid a lot of topics about what's going on in the virus and details about that. There's plenty of advice and opinions out there, but something has been laid on my heart to share with y'all for just a few minutes. And I'm going to be reading out of the book of Matthew, chapter 5, about the Sermon on the Mount. No doubt it's been done numerous times, and it's a good one to do. When Jesus was speaking there, he took the time to say it, so it's good to repeat it if he said it. I'm going to read it, and we'll go over some stuff with it, and maybe it might help you during this time period. Matthew 5, verse 1 says this, "Now seeing the multitude, he went up into the mountain, and he was set, his disciples came. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." Right here at the beginning, what's happening is Jesus had went throughout the area of Samaria. He went out through the area, and he began to teach people, and he began to preach different places, and began to heal people. And it came to a point that he was starting to see how many people were showing up, and he had to go to a place, and it's a direct picture of how in the Old Testament Moses went up to the mountain and received the word from God, and now Jesus has gone up to the mountain. And one of the big differences we can tell, though, is the Old Testament, Moses departed and went his way up to the mountain and received from God, and now Jesus is standing before the people on the mountain saying, "Hey, come to me, I've got what you need," and he has the answers and has what he needed. But during this time, it's a very weird time for us all. And the reason why it's weird and it's different is because unless you was alive in 1918, none of us have ever been through something like this before. Unless you was alive during the Spanish flu, you don't know what it's like being in this pandemic. It's just a crazy time to live in, and I guess it's so crazy because none of us has ever experienced it before. And I've got a few things I'd like to give out here, especially those children of God who's desiring to do right. And this might help us to maybe just give everybody a break and give everybody a pass and a freebie, if you will, because none of us know exactly what the answers are. Nobody knows what the solution is. Nobody knows what the answer to our problems are, but there are a few things that we can control during this time period. I want to talk about three of these blessed that Jesus said. The first one I want to talk about is blessed are the meek. The meek doesn't necessarily mean that you're a shy person or a backward person. A meek person bites their tongue a lot. They decide that some things are not worth being provoked about. Some things are not worth getting upset about, or are worth giving your opinion about. Sometimes it's just best just to, as my kids used to say a lot, zip it, lock it, and put it in your pocket. Just don't say nothing. Just be quiet during these times. And there's going to be a lot of mistakes made by people who've spoken. They've spoken out of turn. They've said things that they shouldn't have said, and regretted saying them afterwards because the effects of this virus that's going on. Nobody knows the outcome of what's going to happen yet. I have my opinions, but I'm just going to keep them to myself about what's going to happen. And to be meek, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are silent all the time. But it refers back to the scriptures that a soft answer turneth away wrath. You don't have to be. We're to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves right now, and that's a hard thing to do. I'll for one tell you, I'm glad I'm not in charge, and I'm glad I'm not making the decisions for everything going on, because one day those people have to answer for that. They led us, and they've guided us to the things that's going on, and they'll have to answer for that. And most of the time for us that's not making decisions, it's best for us just to be meek about it, and don't be in a hurry to give your opinion. And someone that's meek oftentimes would rather forgive somebody 100 times for doing them wrong than to take revenge on an issue one time. They just take a deep breath and just be quiet for a little bit and just be meek and don't jump to conclusions and just be chilled about it. And the next one, like I say, the Bible tells us is blessed are the merciful. Uh, Whenever I was in school, we'd always play these games, and then the boys would try to outshow one another. And there was a game called Mercy, and you'd lock hands and you'd try to hurt the other person until they give up, and they call that mercy. And that's not necessarily what it's talking about. Is forgiving somebody when they're done something wrong or begging for forgiveness, or that's not necessarily the same type of mercy. The mercy that's speaking about here is we must be willing to bear other people's afflictions in this time period and to have sympathy for other people and to show people that, hey, we're here for you, we got your back. You may think that there's nothing, that this virus is just another virus that's coming around, that soon this will all be over and everything will be fine, and that's fine to think that way. Or you may be scared to death that this virus may affect you and hurt you, and you may not live through it. And for those that believe that there's not a big deal for this virus, as a Christian, as a child of God, you need to have mercy on those that you think might be wrong. You need to show these people that you're there for them. If they want you to not touch them or not shake their hand or anything like that, don't touch them. Don't get around them. Don't be offended when someone gets next to you and they use a half a bottle of hand sanitizer and try to clean themselves up, because they are people. There are some people who are really, really impacted and scared about this virus, and we're to show mercy no matter how your stance is on this. You're to show compassion on them. Over in Colossians chapter 3 and verse 12, it says to put on therefore as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercy, kindness, humbleness, mind, meekness, and long suffering. We're to show mercy in this time. We're to show that helping hand. We're supposed to be there to, help people when they're in trouble. And on that note, I'd like to also mention that for those of you that don't know, I work at Baptist Housing, and here in the community, we've been giving out disinfectant spray. And if anybody needs disinfectant spray at this time, please reach out to me and get a hold of me, because here in the community, we're giving it out to help those who need it, who are afraid of this time. But as Christians, we're to be there. If you have a neighbor, or this is the perfect opportunity as Christians that we have a chance to show the world kindness and show the world mercy. And I'm thankful that we live in a place that, you can see it all the time. People are helping others, but we as Christians should be leading the charge when it comes to showing mercy and showing people that need the extra help and who need the extra benefit of being there for them during this time, and to comfort them. And it might be good for us to maybe to take time out and to call people that we normally wouldn't call, to show them that you're there for them, that if they need something, that you'd help them. And I want to talk about one more. And you say, well, why'd you just pick these three out? Because there's so many that we could have went through, and you could have took time on each of these, blessed and blessed and blessed. You could have took time on each of these, but I wanted to pick out just a few to help us for just during this time. Last of all, I'd like to say, blessed are the peacemakers. One thing we don't think a lot about is those people. Now, this ain't talking about busybodies, people who are always getting in everybody else's business, who are always striving to be nosy about people's situation, but those who actually go out and try to help people, not just solve conflict with other people's, but who have actually try to help people solve conflict maybe within themselves, or have conflict with finances, or whatever the case may be. A peacemaker is someone who wants to help someone who doesn't necessarily have to be seen. Oftentimes I remember the show Andy Griffith, no doubt. A lot of y'all remember the show as well, and have seen all the episodes. And it seems like every time you looked around, there's one character who is always trying to help resolve issues and resolve conflict. And we all know that was Andy. Andy would go around and he would always see somebody that had an issue, and his main job, of course we know it's a show, his main job though wasn't necessarily to be the sheriff of town as much as it was to be the peacemaker, to help other people and to be there for them and to help them solve their problems that they had. And as a Christian, we ought to be there for those who are the peacemakers. I'd like to take just a moment for those of you that watched last night's service and with what was said at the end of the service. And if you haven't watched it, you should go back and listen to it. And as the pastor was speaking about how, he couldn't please all the people all the time, but that's what he's trying to do as a peacemaker. And he's not going to make everybody happy. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be upset with no matter what decision he makes, people are going to be upset. And you say, well, what's your opinion about the matter? My opinion doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what my opinion is. What matters is he's actually trying to make it peaceful for everybody and try to appease everybody, and he's doing a fine job at that. And we are blessed to have people like that in our lives who try to make things right, who try to solve conflict that we have, and we as Christians need to do these three things and try to help everybody else during this time. We need to be that light. And if you read the rest of the scripture, you'll find out that it talks about how we're the salt of the earth, and how we're the light to the world. And I encourage you to read the rest of Matthew chapter 5 and the rest of the Sermon on the Mount. But we're to be that example to people right now. We're the ones that should be leading the charge of how people should react in turmoil. We as Christians have a peace on the inside of us that everyone else doesn't have. We have that comfort that this is not our best life. This isn't the best thing to ever happen to us. Earth is not that. We got a greater home waiting on us, and we should act like that everything's going to be all right. And we should do these simple things. We should try to be meek. We should try to be merciful, and we should try to be peacemakers. If we do those three things in this time of this pandemic, the world will see that. And when they see that, they'll see the Christ attitude that you have, and they'll see Christ in you, and they'll see the attributes that Christ has given you as one of his child, as a child of God. And I hope that you take these three things, and that you really strive to do these three things: meek, mercy, and be a peacemaker. Thank you.